My name's Narelle Mantle. I'm General Manager of an organisation called Reverse Garbage Co-op.
Can you tell me, what is it? What is reverse garbage?
Approximately 40 years ago, a group of predominantly school teachers got together because they were seeing all these perfectly good resources going to landfill. Things like industrial offcuts and overruns, fabric, paper, craft materials, and they thought, this is ridiculous. You know, we can't get the stuff we need and this is going to the bin. So they got together, they applied for a grant from the government and got a one-off grant to open a thing called reverse garbage, where basically they made all these resources, and we call them resources, not waste, all these resources available to the public really cheaply. So it was born from the need to primarily reduce resources from going to landfill. So over the years we've gone from an organisation that just sells primarily industrial overruns and offcuts to furniture, clothing, fabrics, building materials and all sorts of things. So we're a huge warehouse in Marrickville. We've also got premises in Darlinghurst where you can come in, anyone off the street, and buy as little or as much as you want. We run education programs in schools, universities, wherever. We teach the broader community about the need to reuse and to play a proactive role in the reduction of resources from going to landfill. So we have a few feathers in our hat, which is education, which is retail, which is consultation, which is all sorts of things. So that's primarily what we do in a nutshell.
Can you tell me about some of the material that you might find at reverse garbage? What kind of things can people find here?
Okay, well, we have lots of stuff that we get all the time. Stuff like, I don't know if you've seen the City of Sydney banners that float through the city for all sorts of different events. Well, we've always got thousands and thousands of them, from the art gallery, from the City of Sydney, from the National Museum, from the Powerhouse. Always got those beautiful, bright, colourful banners. We've got loads and loads of rolls of fabric, loads of paper, beautifully crisp new white paper on rolls for artists and designers. We get homewares from cooking utensils to plates and saucers, clothing, all sorts of cushion stuffing, hessian sacks, you name it. I mean, I can't think of something that we really don't get, which is ironic. You know, we get bits of metal that people turn into sculptures. We get kitchen sinks, we get taps, we get all sorts of things. So we have predominantly a list of regular donators, or suppliers as we call them, and then we get lots of one-off things from film production companies, TV sets, advertising agencies. You know, when you see all those big sort of conferences and conventions, we get all the leftover materials from those, like the pens and the laptop bags and you name it. You know, honestly, there's nothing we don't get. It's really worth your while coming and having a look. Yeah.
And so tell me, what is the driving philosophy of reverse garbage? You mentioned before reuse and recycling.
Yeah. And primarily it's re-educating people. I mean, once upon a time we were a culture that did reuse. You know, we weren't as affluent as we are now. So there was our grandparents and our great-grandparents, whatever they had, they used and reused and reused. And it was like, at the very end of the day, if they couldn't reuse it, they'd turn it into something else, or, you know, very rarely did it end up in the tip. And so over the years, we've become so, like, use something, throw it away. So what we're trying to do is bring back that ethic that things are a resource, and that resources are not, you know, it's not a never-ending pot. So eventually we will run out. So let's start thinking wisely and cleverly and reuse, reinvent, you know, re-educate the community about the need to stop these resources from landfill, because currently, I mean, we're saving something like 15,000 cubic metres of waste or resources from landfill each year. So, and that's done in a practical way. We don't chain ourselves to trees. We don't, you know, we're not out there with placards. You know, we're practical environmentalists. And so what we've done is we've touched a sort of I don't know what the word for it, but we've touched something in the community where they can see that they can practically get involved in the environment without having to be these kind of radical greenies, you know. And so they save money, they reduce resources from going to landfill, they redecorate their homes. You know, it's a really fun sort of, I don't know, proactive way to be a part of the environment movement without, you know, being radical, I suppose. Yeah.
I wanted to know more about what motivates people to actually donate. You know, these kind of, you know, big businesses, corporates. Why are they donating to reverse garbage?
Well, now it's much more about the green is the new black. But originally it's about, you know, they save a load of money, you know, on waste costs. So we send the truck out, or the ute, or the van, and we say, look, don't throw that away. You know, it's going to cost you a fortune anyway, and somebody will need this stuff. So primarily it was about, gee, I'm saving thousands of dollars a year in waste costs. But now the real push is, oh, this looks good in our annual report. The individual donor, and a lot of businesses are not that, a lot of people are altruistic. But for the individual donations and the one-offs, they're really, really keen to be a part of something bigger. And we love it when we see people who a lot of the times can't afford things walk away with something for $5, $10 that would cost them $150 in the shops. And it feels fantastic to know that they have access to everything as well. But then there's also the really savvy shopper who drives in a Mercedes four-wheel drive and picks up the bargains, and they turn up in Double Bay in an antique shop. But that's kind of fine as well, as long as it's not going to landfill, And as long as people are starting to recognise that these are resources.
Have online selling, services like eBay or Gumtree kind of impacted on the behaviour of people donating or consuming from reverse garbage?
Not really. I mean, we try to do a bit of it. We've got like 25,000 Facebook followers, so we do use new technology, but people like to come here because it's an experience, and you watch their imaginations just go wild, and they get really fueled up. And once somebody shops here once, you'll find that they'll be coming here for the rest of their lives. That's why we get lots of students that come here, when they first leave school or in second class. They come here for life because it's really addictive. It becomes part of their psyche almost. It's like, what can I find? What can I turn this into? And it's quite inspirational, And all the staff are the same. We love it. It's a wonderful place to work because you never know what's going to come through the door, and you never know whether it's going to be a huge robot or Uluru, a huge painting of Uluru, or 29,000 blue barrels this big. You never know from day to day, and that's kind of the fun of it. And that's why people, whilst they look at us on Facebook and we keep in contact with them, they like to come here and touch it and be a part of it. So that's why we've opened up in Darlinghurst as well, because the eastern suburbs are wanting a piece of the action as well now. So yeah.
So tell me about the people who come to reverse garbage. You mentioned that it was very much driven originally by teachers, and I imagine teachers would still be really interested in reverse garbage. But
from preschool right through to design and technology. But, so we get the educators and the crafts people, artists, designers. But now we're getting more and more home decorators, home interior designers, and things looking for a one-off, looking for ways to be a part of the environmental movement as well, finding an old crate, covering it in a Hessian sack, all that sort of stuff. As I mentioned earlier, there's a camera crew coming from one of those design shows on one of the commercial stations. They're coming here to outfit a home with all reused furniture and stuff that they've found and built. So, we get a lot of people that have come originally from other countries, from Greece, from Turkey, from places where it's natural to reuse and be one day. And we get 400 or 500 people a day, on average, come through those doors. They don't always spend, some of them just come to look. And some people come in every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, twice a day.
Finally, tell me, can you think of one particularly unusual piece or object or series of things that's been donated that really, you mentioned a robot and a big, big painting of Uluru, but has there been anything that you've...
Well, the best thing we got was from a school science lab, well, I think it's the best thing anyway, that was it closed in about 1968, and they just basically closed the doors, and then the building, they didn't do anything with the building, and then basically they wanted to redevelop. So the redevelopers came and opened the doors, and they found all these fantastic specimens, from 1920 right through to 1965, of human bones, animal bones, fish, and it was just phenomenal, and test tubes, and the community went crazy for it. I mean, I don't know what sort of a nerve it touched in people, but skeletons, bones of fish and ancient prehistoric this and that, and for me that was the most spectacular thing because it just activated the imagination of the broader community. Everybody from miles around just came running to see this stuff, and everybody wanted a piece of it, so that was pretty good. What else have we got? We've got lots of human hair ones. That was a bit weird. That was freaky from a hairdresser, bags and bags of it. And it's sold, we were ooh, but that was pretty weird. So we do get some pretty strange things in. I mean, every day, every single day, I mean, this container that we're sitting in now was this old shipping container that we converted all through reuse, all reused materials. And this was from, Bananas in Pyjamas. It was their old dressing room from years ago, and they donated it to us. So we just decided to turn it into, and that was pretty cool, So we do get some pretty